Hi, and welcome to an all-new episode of Secrets in Dragon Ball Games. Tenkaichi 3 is a fast-paced game. I know it might not seem like it after playing Sparking Zero for so long, but trust me, it is. I mean, one of them runs at 60 FPS while the other is locked at 30, or even 25 if you're playing the European version. The game's fast-paced combat makes it easy to overlook subtle character animations and cues. For example, whenever Gotenks performs a rush combo, he strikes one of his goofy poses after landing the final hit. It's really easy to miss because rush combos can be extended, and if you do extend them, his pose gets cancelled to continue the combo. But here's something even harder to notice. If you extend your rush combo into a second one, Gotenks actually strikes a completely different pose at the end. Also, I just realized that this man has unique animations for each directional heavy smash. Every single one leads to a quick, snappy, unique motion. The devs must have had a blast designing his moveset. Is that a dab? Come to think of it, a lot of the Buu Saga characters have some sort of unique animations. Kid Buu does an almost cartoonish wind-up animation before rushing forward. Evil Buu dashes upside down, likely referencing the only time he was seen flying in the series. And of course, Super Buu subtly extends his fingers, just like he did when he did some unspeakable things to the guy who shot his pet puppy. Can't really blame him though. Now, I'm really glad to see these little details making a comeback in Sparking Zero. The Buu's dashing animations are back and looking better than ever. Even Gotenks striking a pose after each rush combo has returned. The same goes for the poses he hits after a smash attack. It's kind of surreal to see how faithfully these animations have been recreated 17 years later. Some of them are missing, but it's not a huge deal. They made up for it by adding completely new ones, like Super Buu giving you the bird. All of these little details are pretty cool. However, something is missing. Kid Buu. Most of the time when you perform a charged dash attack, you just hit your opponent, knock them back a bit, and that's pretty much it. But with Kid Buu, there's something extra. I always knew he made some sort of gesture when hitting someone, but I never really took the time to figure out exactly what he was doing. Well, I finally decided to see it through. I used free cam to position myself at a better angle, proceeded to do a dash attack, and I knew it. He points and laughs at you. Of course he does. It's totally in character for Kid Buu. He's a massive troll after all. Unfortunately, while he does have the same move in Sparking Zero, the little point and laugh gesture is gone. It's not really a big deal, but it would have been cool. The next one is either the most clever 300 IQ Easter egg you've ever seen or just a random oversight. Let me show you what I'm talking about. What's the single most important thing that differentiates Super Saiyan from Super Saiyan 2? With Goku and Teen Gohan, it's obviously their hair. While subtle, it's a noticeable difference between the two forms, especially with Gohan. Once we get to adult Gohan and Vegeta, the differences are harder to spot. Fortunately for us, we can still make a distinction, thanks to the electricity emitted from a person once they reach Super Saiyan 2. But what happens when animators forget to draw the lightning around characters like adult Gohan and Vegeta? Well, we get countless debates about which form a character is using, simply because we can't differentiate the two due to nearly identical hairstyles. One moment a character can be drawn with lightning, and the very next, the lightning is completely gone. Like I said, this isn't really an issue with Goku and Teen Gohan, but the others are harder to tell apart. It's not really the animator's fault. They work under extreme deadlines, and sometimes it's easy to forget to add lightning effects. I want you to keep that in mind because now we're going back to Tenkaichi 3. As you'd expect, Super Saiyan characters have that signature flow of electricity around them. However, if you win a match with the Super Saiyan 2 character and proceed to do a rematch,
alright, this is it!
The lightning effects are completely gone. Now, I've heard some people speculate that this is supposed to be a clever reference to the fact that animators would sometimes forget to add lightning to Super Saiyan 2 characters. As I mentioned earlier, that would be one of the most genius Easter eggs of all time. But realistically, I'm thinking it's more of a glitch or oversight rather than an intentional reference. For example, Sparking Zero, which used Tenkaichi 3 as a direct reference and shares its impressive attention to detail, doesn't remove lightning effects during a rematch. So I think it's more of a glitch, but do let me know what you guys think. After the announcement that Sparking Zero's DLC 2 was delayed to an unknown date in April, I decided to buy all of Kakarot's DLC and replay the entire game. This time with a special focus on documenting the progression of the energy sensing mechanic to see just how in-depth it really goes. Kakarot is a game made with a lot of love for the source material, with a strong emphasis on making it feel as close as possible to the manga and anime. Just take a look at this shot. It's a perfect one-to-one recreation of that iconic manga panel. They even went as far as breaking some of the characters' models to ensure accuracy. They didn't have to do all that, but they did it anyway. With all that in mind, let's see just how deep they went with the energy sensing mechanic. At the very start of the game, we can see Krillin's and Roshi's auras, which essentially represent their power levels. Maybe it's just me, but I believe Krillin's aura is slightly larger, which makes sense. His power level at this point is 206 compared to Roshi's 129. And if we return here after Krillin undergoes training for the Saiyan's arrival, the power dynamic shifts even further. Krillin's power level nears 2000, while Roshi, well, to be fair, he wasn't exactly getting any training done. Now, Krillin did improve tremendously, no doubt about that, but Piccolo, well, he's on a whole different level. We don't have any official power level statements for Piccolo and Krillin at this point, but many guides estimate Piccolo at 3,500 and Krillin at 1,700. Judging by the differences in their auras, those statements do check out. Piccolo's aura appears to be about twice the size of Krillin's, which aligns perfectly with the guides. Before I turn the camera around to show you Nappa and Vegeta's aura, I want you to read this line from Krillin. He says their ki feels like a huge demonic aura. Now, if we turn the camera around, I'd say that's pretty demonic. Once Goku arrives on the battlefield, we see a massive shift in their auras. Piccolo's once great aura has nearly faded, implying that he's on the brink of death. But more importantly, we finally realize that the massive aura we've been seeing this whole time while playing as Gohan wasn't actually a combination of Nappa and Vegeta's power levels. It was only Vegeta's. This is actually a brilliant piece of visual storytelling. Imagine someone experiencing this story for the first time through the game, without prior knowledge of the anime or manga. At first, they might assume that Vegeta and Nappa are on a similar level due to the immense aura surrounding them. However, once they play as Goku, they'll be surprised to realize that Nappa contributed very little to that massive wall of aura. It was almost entirely Vegeta. This also serves as a subtle reference to how the Z Fighters themselves couldn't initially tell which of the two Saiyans was stronger. That's why, as players, we see a massive wall of energy emanating from both of them, unable to distinguish who's responsible for it while playing with Gohan. It's only when we play as Goku, whose power level is far closer to theirs, that we're able to differentiate between the two. And while the power gap between the Z Fighters and the Saiyans was kind of big, it was nothing compared to the difference they would later face against Frieza's final form. Yeah, I had to back my camera way up just to capture the whole area his energy is engulfing. When you view power levels from this perspective, it's no wonder everyone was sweating and panicking when they sensed the high power level. Hell, if I was able to see auras and I sensed one that covered half of the map, I'd probably start sweating too. Not entirely sure why they removed this, but back when the game first launched, there was quite a clever Easter egg with the Z Fighters right as Frieza was about to land on Earth. While everyone was shocked and confused by Frieza's arrival, Vegeta and Piccolo remained calm. They even lowered their power levels to avoid detection by Frieza scouters. And the game did something really clever here. Vegeta wasn't bluffing. If we check their energy signatures, we can see that everyone except Vegeta and Piccolo has their aura visible, a really clever detail that emphasizes Vegeta and Piccolo's tactical side. What's strange though is that this detail no longer exists in Kakarot. The only proof I have of its existence is the screenshot from Reddit. Why did they remove it? No clue. Before we move on to the next section, I gotta show you this. There's a brief moment where we can play as Goku on Kami's lookout, and the game lets us scan the power levels of everyone there. And can you guess who's up there with us? It's Dende. No, it's Popo. Everyone likes to meme about Mr. Popo being this almighty divine being who could destroy anyone should they disrespect him or his time chamber. I'm not sure if the devs were playing along with the meme. I'm not even sure if they're aware of it, but if we scan Mr. Popo's power level, it's the exact same as Piccolo's and Trunks's.
I like you.
Believe it or not, DBZ Kakarot is the only game with a sort of lung capacity system. If you stay underwater for too long, well, you drown. In the Budokai games, you can't fight underwater, and while Tenkaichi, Raging Blast, and Xenoverse all feature underwater combat, none of them actually punish you for staying submerged too long. That said, there is one neat detail in the Tenkaichi games that many of you are probably aware of. Every character charges ki about 50% slower underwater, but certain characters like Cybermen and Namekians only experience a 20 to 30% reduction. Cybermen are literally plant people, so I guess that makes sense. And Namekians essentially live off water, which could explain why they get all these benefits. Keeping that in mind, I wanted to see if Kakarot has a similar mechanic. Instead of focusing on charging speed underwater, since Kakarot doesn't have an underwater debuff mechanic, I wanted to see if Namekians could potentially hold their breath longer. Kakarot doesn't have a huge roster of playable characters, but fortunately, we have just enough Saiyans to compare against Piccolo. And while every single one of them holds their breath for roughly 58 seconds, Piccolo manages to last nearly 5 seconds longer. I mean, it's not a huge difference, about 8% longer, but it does keep up the tradition of Namekians having an affinity for water in DBZ games. This made me wonder, has there ever been a case in the series where a Namekian held their breath for an extended period? The only moment I can think of is when Cell killed Piccolo and tossed him into the water. Now, I know DBZ isn't exactly known for accurately conveying the passage of time, but surely a few minutes must have passed before Goku arrived to rescue him. Yeah, this is the only moment I can think of where Namekian survives an extended period underwater. If you guys have any other examples or theories, I'd love to hear them. You guys have already most likely seen those guest characters from other shonen anime placed on Budokai 3's World Tournament Arena. Sanji, Luffy, Naruto, Edward, Envy, Bruno, etc. Well, I was watching a short video by Mios, the guy who made free cam possible in Budokai 3, and he discovered something really interesting. Basically, every one of those guest characters, let's call them that, was removed. Well, censored might be the more appropriate word. Luffy got a shirt and some kind of weird beard or something. Naruto's and Tenten's headbands were removed. Bruno's outfit was completely recolored and covered up. Tori-bot, who is essentially Toriyama's little avatar representing himself, was removed and replaced with this thing. There seem to be a few more changes, but unfortunately, I'm not familiar with some of the other characters. Oh yeah, surprisingly, Sanji stayed the same. You'd think censorship like this would be exclusive to the worldwide versions of the game, but no. This might be one of those rare cases where the Japanese version of the game, the original version, actually got censored. This prompted me to run the same test with the Tenkaichi games. While there are no regional differences in the characters present in the crowd, I did notice something pretty cool. See this crowd from the Tenkaichi games? Well, this exact same crowd appears in the Raging Blast games, all the way up to Ultimate Tenkaichi. Yep, not a single difference, no upscaling, no changes, nothing. Considering the entirety of Tenkaichi 3 is present within Raging Blast 1's files, I guess it's no surprise how this crowd managed to make its way into the next console generation. Well, next gen at the time. I've seen a few videos popping up lately discussing various features that were present in Tenkaichi 3 but got removed in Sparking Zero. Now, I know a lot of people hold Tenkaichi 3 in high regard. Hell, I do too, but BT3 is also guilty of cutting certain features that were present in the previous games. Some of the most notable omissions include Majin Buu's fumes, those quirky descending animations for non-flying characters, and so on. But unlike those features, the one I want to talk about is a specific combo mechanic that was only present in Tenkaichi 2 and was never seen again. Have you ever had your key gauge drop from max power for seemingly no reason in Tenkaichi 2? Personally, I never had it happen to me, but I did see it happen to my opponent. In fact, it happened at such a perfect moment that it led me to believe BT2 had a secret spirit bomb mechanic. You see, in July of 2024, I uploaded this video. In that video, I discussed Spirit Bomb's potential energy drain effect. What prompted me to test this theory was a playthrough of Tenkaichi 2 by Doya, where, coincidentally, the moment he used the Share Your Energy skill, Vegeta was knocked out of the max power state. After an insane number of tries, I was able to replicate that same effect in my playthrough. In both of our playthroughs, it happened at the exact same moment, which left me really confused. At first, I thought it was a side effect of one of the Z Capsule's equip items. But nope, the Spirit Bomb didn't have any kind of energy drain effect. What happened in both of our playthroughs was nothing more than a coincidence. An extremely rare coincidence, but a coincidence nonetheless. You see, Vegeta was trying to perform what the game refers to as the max power combo. And as the name implies, you have to be in max power to use it. The most notable thing about the max power combo is that you have to commit fully, because if you don't, you lose all the extra key bars. Now, if Vegeta had committed to a full max power combo, this is what would have happened. I knew about the combo, I knew it existed, but I never knew about the drawbacks. The moment you launch the max power combo, you have to commit. Otherwise, you'll be knocked out of max power as punishment. After the heavy finish, or the gut punch, whatever you want to call it, you have to mash the square button as fast as you can to get the most out of the combo. I'm not the fastest button masher in the world, but I did manage to get about 54 hits before the max power state ended. Still, I can't help but wonder if it's possible to reach the max combo count to 99 hits. I haven't seen anyone do it on YouTube, but in theory, it should be possible. The way I see it, it completely depends on how fast you can mash the punch button. I kinda suck at it, but someone's gotta be able to pull off 100 hits. Anyway, this mechanic was removed for some reason in BT3, and by extension, Sparking Zero. Still, I would have loved to see it in Sparking Zero. Just imagine how cool it would look. Speaking of BT2, if you 100% the Ultimate Battle Z game mode in Budokai Tenkaichi 2, you gain a rather strange reward. You gain a secret type Z item called Desert Costume. If we open up the explanation menu, it simply reads, Bulma has changed in the data center. Now, if we go to the data center, you'll notice that Bulma still looks the same. She's still in her default Namek outfit. But if we take a closer look, we can notice that there's a brand new prompt that simply reads, change. And if we press circle, we'll get a slightly fan-servicey render of Bulma in her Pilaf Saga outfit. It's kind of a random reward for completing one of the hardest modes in the game, but it's still a reward at the end of the day. Better than nothing. Similar to Bulma, we can also unlock Bulla in Tenkaichi 2. I'll be honest, I had no idea this was a thing. So if you beat all the basic training challenges in the ultimate training mode, you'll unlock a Z item simply called Bulla. The description reads, Bulla has arrived in ultimate training mode. And if we scroll back to the training mode, nothing seems to change, right? Well, everything stays the same, except for that circle prompt.
Hi, I came from the future. I'll take shopping over training any day.
Yep, there she is. An extremely rare appearance of Bulla in a mainline DBZ game. It feels kinda odd that they chose Bulla as our guide for the training mode, considering she was never shown fighting in the series. But to be fair, the devs were well aware of this, given the dialogue they gave her.
I'm not sure I understand, but do your best. Ugh, choose already.
Yeah, she's a bit of a brat, but considering who her parents are, it's no wonder. Alright, this one's pretty funny. Kakarot has a lot of iconic locations from the show that you can visit, and one of them is Orange Star High School, the school Gohan goes to during the Buu saga. Now, each playable character has a unique line whenever they land at the school grounds. Piccolo just remarks that this is Gohan's school. Gohan doesn't say anything for some reason. Vegeta remarks that he has no business being there, which is true. Trunks has a funny line about Bulma.
Now that I think about it, my mother said she didn't go to school much because she knew more than the teachers.
But by far the best line comes from Goku.
Yeah, I definitely can't see myself going to school.
Yeah, Goku, neither can we. Oh wait, we can! In fact, we saw it happen 17 years ago. Dragon Ball Evolution. It has to be a reference to that. It's the only Dragon Ball story that has Goku attending school. Also, did you guys know this movie has a game? It's based on Shin Budokai 2 for the PSP, so the core gameplay is solid. I'll see if I can find some interesting stuff there for one of the upcoming videos. And that's gonna be it for this one. The next video will be around the time we get DLC 2 for Sparking Zero, which we know is coming in April. However, no one knows whether it'll be in the first half or the second half of the month. In any case, it's gonna be soonish. Till then, take care and perhaps check out the previous episode.